Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. And today we're going to be answering your political questions that you were so kind enough to post on my community page. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm channeling this. I'm 60% spirit guides, and this is a specific group of spirit guides that I use or I talk to or come to work with me is a better communication of that. And 40% is Susan. So I'm sort of consciously channeling this. You'll see this throughout the video where I stop to get clarity or I correct myself mid-sentence, just like I just did, where they were like, that's not exactly what we were trying to say. It's a very complicated process because I see pictures, I get words, I get phrases, and I have knowings. All of this, and I have feelings, and all of this blizzard somehow gets sorted out by the 40% that's Susan and goes into some sort of cogent communication in the form of a sentence through words. Sometimes I don't do a great job, but and hopefully they correct me real time. And speaking of that, I want to go back to my last video for a moment because this, I don't believe this has really ever happened. They're telling me it has, but I've not gone on, I've not done it in this way. So here's the deal. My last video, someone asked about 45 and his connection to the murder of Khashoggi, the journalist. And they asked, was he directly responsible? And I said, no, he's not directly responsible. He's a puppet. The guides told me, they showed me that he's a puppet, that he doesn't have that kind of power. Now, I believe that they meant that about Khashoggi. However, and we did say allegedly that maybe Jared had something to do with that because Jared proffered a list. Now, I wonder where he got the list, right? He proffered a list of the Saudi prince's enemies. He proffered a list to the prince, and then all hell broke loose. People started disappearing, that kind of thing. So now that part, the guides are like, that's correct. The thing they want me to clarify, and the fact that they've been talking to me about this for literally like 4 days straight means that this must be coming up in the news, or this must be something that's going to be known in some way. And that is that allegedly 45 has ordered hits on people. And allegedly these things have happened. Allegedly, and I say allegedly because this is legal and I don't need any more trouble than I already seem to get myself into. So allegedly there could be a connection, sort of a murder connection to some executives that died on a plane in a plane crash a few years ago. And that could be few, and I'm channeling, I don't know, 5, 10, 20, I don't know. But a while back, you can Google it, easily found. Trump executives die in plane crash. You can find the data right there. However, there may be a connection there. So they want to tighten up my message to you in the sense that he doesn't have the power he thinks he does, but he does have some power. And also, he may be, and this is the part that's new that I think, he may be fingered for a murder or a crime accessory. I'm hearing accessory to murder. And honestly, may not have he may not really have done that crime, but he's going to be thrown under the bus. There's energy here that he was involved in something allegedly that was a crime, that was a murder, and how much was his involvement? It may be made to be more than it was to get rid of him. There's many forces at work here. Remember, the people that I believe that are fronting him, that are paying him, or that, well, I mean, there's a few countries, right? That might be China, it might be Russia, it might be some other countries. They've worked with him on and off to, the word I'm getting is destroy democracy, because these countries don't have democracy. They don't want their citizens to think that democracy is good. They want their citizens to know that democracy is bad, that it doesn't work, that it's corrupt. So as much as they can get involved in our democracy and make it fall apart, make us fight each other, and make us look bad. Number one, we lose the power. We lose the superpower status. Number two, they gain power with their citizens because the almighty America is a dumpster fire. So some of these angles that these countries are using while working with people like Trump are simply to destroy, make a mess of, divide, all of those things, right? Now, on the other hand, there's people that could want to work with him, that want to make more money for the United States. There's also people that could be wanting to, now those people have a benefit with him being powerful, with him having his mouthpiece, with him being the political power that he is. Even though he's wrecking the country, that's good for them. So they're going to support him. Okay. So even if he does something crazy or something wrong or something egregious, they're still going to support him because it matches up with their needs, their goal. Now there's other people coming onto the scene that want him gone because he is wrecking their Republican Party. So now you have people that are around 45 that have different viewpoints, different goals. This is new. This wasn't the case. He's always been untouchable. He's always been, surrounded by people that had enough money and power to protect him or whatever. So in comes this new energy that wants to cut him off at the knees, that wants to finger him for something, wants to see him go down because they want his power, So there's a lot going on. There's a whole power shift and what they're calling a power vacuum that's getting ready to happen within the Democratic Party also, but also the Republican Party. And the Democratic Party, it just centers around people running for races. As these districts get redistricted, or Dianne Feinstein crossed over, God rest her soul, we now have a vacuum in that seat, right? We have issues to talk about, and somebody does ask that question, and I will get to it. So anyway, I wanted to clear it up. You may see him being fingered for something like murder, and you might come back and say, Susan, you said he didn't have the power. There's a lot going on here, folks. It's not a simple A plus B. There's lots of energies and entities circling Donald Trump, some to increase his power, some to take his power away. And then in the middle of that, you have Jack Smith, right? And Tish James and Fani Willis, who are all trying to take his power away. So this guy he's sort of, the guides again often show me a boxing ring for some reason when I'm thinking about the energy around Trump. And I told you guys months ago that he was on the ropes, that he was getting blow after blow after blow after blow. I mean, body blows. Nobody was knocking him out. This is an important thing. Nobody knocked him out. Everybody's giving him body blows. That's where we are now. For the love of God, put him out of his misery and knock him out, lock him up, right? But no, it's body blow, body blow. And I guess it's wearing him down, and I guess it's proving, I mean, when you have to go through a long process of justice, at the end, there's no doubt. You can look at all the steps that were taken and you can check them off. You can say, yes, due diligence was followed. Yes, the law was followed. If you just knock him out, put him in jail, it's almost like a dictator move, right? It leads a lot of people to question, wait a minute, it happened so quick. How do we know what really happened? But in this way, you have Atlanta, you have, Fani Willis taking him down. Tish James is taking down his corporate world, his business. And you have Jack Smith taking him down criminally. So there can't be much doubt when this is over that he was a criminal, because so many different entities in different states have weighed in and been successful in convicting him. So that's what they would just say about that. Let's move on to your first question. YouTube name 7819 says, will Trump end up in a pretrial detention? I don't see him in a detention. How do you define detention? House arrest? Yeah, see that here's the problem. The problem is, well, the Constitution. I don't know why they're saying the Constitution, but the problem is that we have a couple of problems. He has his mouthpiece, which is very damaging. It's just damaging to our democracy, damaging to our country, what he says, what he puts out there, and he gens up all this hate and threatening to kill, not threatening, I guess he is threatening. I mean, he's saying things like the mob would. In another day, someone like Mark Milley would be hung on a tree. He says these things, right, that are really threats, but they're sort of veiled threats. The other thing that we have to consider about detention is, do we put him in a detention? Do we put him in house arrest? Do we limit his freedom to move? Or do we limit his mouthpiece? Or do we limit both? What's available here for these prosecutors or these judges? And you're looking at sick. I mean, look, 1-800 Guides, press 1 for complaints. I'm just telling you what I get. I'm the messenger. I'm getting 6 months from now, a long way away. And he's going to do an amazing amount of damage between now and then. Now, if they locked up Trump for what he's saying, there would be riots, there would be mayhem, violence, and then we would have problems, right? And God forbid we do it when the government is shut down, right? I mean, then we wouldn't even have, this is tricky. I keep telling you guys, this is really a tricky situation. And everything they're doing with these body blows is to soften, is to gently move this population of MAGAs into the knowing that Trump is going to go down. They just can't lock him up overnight. They can't. The whole country would go into some sort of crazy fever. They go apoplectic. Okay. And a little bit of people can do a lot of damage. We don't need, 1 million people. We just need 100,000 people throughout the country to really start causing problems. Then that shuts down the economy, and then nothing gets done. And then we have people on the left fighting back. And then we have that kind of energy of a civil war. Even though I don't see us going into a civil war, the energy of it is here. I've talked to you guys a lot about that a lot, in the sense that we have the energy of the Civil War, brothers against sisters, parents against kids, kids against their own kids. It's division, the energy of division. So this is why they're not going to do it. Now, I know you guys are screaming at the screen. He's doing so much damage that we might as well take our medicine and get it over with, right? I get it. I'm on your side. I'm the kind of person who wouldn't even be dealing with this long. I have zero patience. So I'm just telling you what the energy suggests, what my spirit guides are suggesting. I do see us, meaning the courts, leveling up fines. One thing that does speak to him is, I don't know if you remember, but he was in contempt of court once, and he got like $100,000 a day fine. Well, he got out of that like quick. I mean, he got maybe $400,000 in fines, and he got out of that. So money speaks to him. So instead of actual detention, I feel like he'll be in contempt of court, and they'll hit him in the pocketbook. And I think that will have pretty much the same effect on him. But you have to remember, you have to understand, he's going to have proxies. If he can't say this stuff out of his mouth, he'll get Matt Gaetz, he'll get Boebert or Green or somebody else to say it. It's not going to stop them from saying it, because we don't have a rule. We don't have a law against this. It's gray. And how do you make a law? What is a veiled threat? Where does it become a crime? These are kind of, hard to suss out, and really impinges on our free speech. And how do we do that? This is a conversation the country needs to have. And frankly, we'll have it, because we're being shown exactly how this can ruin our communities and ruin our democracy. I mean, right now they're showing me, what if a coach said something about a principal at the high school. That principal needs to be hung from a tree. What if the coach said that about another team's coach? I mean, there's all these niceties, right? There's all these customs that we follow that we think are laws, but they're not laws. There's no laws. It's about the societal norm. If this coach says this about this other coach, do they get fired? Then, okay, that reinforces the societal norm. In this case, we can't fire Trump. He's on his own. He's doing his thing. So this is making us, we're going to have to look at all of it. We're going to have to look at our whole society, our norms that should be laws, because it's not working. We're going to have to make some of these things real punishable laws with teeth. Okay, I'm going to move on. Okay, so the next question is Morgan Marshall says, this is an interesting question. Will the former guy, 45, DJT, we all knew who we're talking about here, will he stroke out before the new election? Well, you know, I got in trouble. There was once upon a time where I was asking my spirit guides every single day if he was going to die that day. And they had to really pull me aside and say, do we need to do an intervention? Are you okay? You know, is this political stuff getting to you? Maybe we should pull you off of this assignment for a little while. I was like, no, I'm fine. This is a serious question. I need an answer. And y'all, this was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. This was a while back. I do think, I'm going to do something a little different. If you don't know me, I like to, I'm a rule breaker. Let's just face it. I'm a rule breaker. So when I'm doing a reading, if your spirit guides won't tell you something, sometimes I'll just dial up your Aunt Betty and ask her, because the dead people on the other side will tell me. They don't care. They don't care about your lesson. So right now I'm going to, I don't know if I might get in trouble for this, but we'll see. Break a universal law. In other words, I'm already going to be in detention with a bunch of y'all. So, you know, hey, we're just going to make the best of it. Okay. Well, DJT stroke out before the November elections. That's November of 2024. I heard yes. Can I get a guarantee? Can I get a certificate of authenticity, please? I don't know if he's going to stroke out. Well, yeah, there's, liver disease, pancreas. He's got health problems, colon. Oh, well, what's it going to be, folks? It depends. They said it depends. You know, a stroke or a heart attack is a blessing, right? Because it's quick and you're out, you know, game over. These other things are, you know, a trial. They're hard. They're not any fun, you know, so it kind of depends. It hasn't been decided yet if he's going to choose the route of suffering, because then they're saying he can be the martyr. So he likes the idea of being the martyr. He likes to be able to complain. So he may choose to have a sort of a long illness in which he can be bombastic, is what they're saying, but also vitriol. I'm hearing the word vitriol. Just imagine if he was really, really sick and terminal, but, you know, had months and months to go. Just, you know, we think he's bad now. Just wait till then, right? He would be really unchecked. But when I go into that energy, then I see electricity, which to me, electricity is your electricity stops, right? So we're electric. And so that means stroke or heart attack. Okay, so on the reverse side, if he did have a long lingering illness, there wouldn't be as many conspiracy theories. There's always going to be a conspiracy theory, but there wouldn't be as many. So that's interesting. What did we ask before November of 2023? I'm getting March, November of 2024, excuse me. I'm getting March. Something about March. You know, every March I think of the Ides of March and I think of 45. For the last, 5 years, the Ides of March, I always think of 45. There's a significance to that. I'll put it on the screen, but there is a significance to that. I think, doesn't it have to do with Caesar, or there's a significance to that that makes sense in the framework of 45. Okay, I'm going to move on. And let's go to a really happy, uplifting question now, which is from a healer within. And the question is, will Stacey Abrams be given a position in the Biden or Harris administration, and or will she be president one day? I am a Stacey Abrams fan. I love that woman. She's just a gift. She's a gift to us at this time. She's certainly a gift to Georgia. So what I heard, what I'm hearing now is Supreme Court. I think she might be appointed to the Supreme Court. She's taking time off, but she's very busy. You know, she's doing things. She's got other projects that she's doing right now. It's because she wants the pot on the pan, the pot on the stove is too hot. She needs to let it cool off before she can go back and handle it. So the politics in Georgia are too hot right now. She's letting everything cool off around her. So then she'll come back. She's not out. She's not out of politics. She's taking a political break, but her prowess, her integrity, her ethics, her intelligence, all these things have been noted by, you know, the higher ups in the Democratic Party. And she could have an appointment in the Biden-Harris administration like that. I'm thinking, I just now saw Department of Education. So she has a bright star. She's going places, and potentially to the Supreme Court, which I would think would be amazing. And look, you guys are going to ask me, well, she is a lawyer. You might say, well, she hasn't done much court or whatever. I don't know what her history is. Go look at Kavanaugh. Go look at Amy Coney Barrett. Look at their legal experience. It's basically amounts to nothing, very, very little over nothing. And they are now in the highest court in the land. It's not a prerequisite to be a Supreme Court justice. Okay, let's move on. It's another one of those things where maybe we need to have a rule or a law, you know, instead of a norm or a, you know, this is how we do it, because sometimes that's not working. Okay, Ronnie W. says, how capable is our DOJ, Department of Justice, in finding out who is threatening witnesses, jury, legislators, etc.? Will those involved be held accountable? Yes, I'm telling you right now, the DOJ has, I don't know how to describe it except for that they've recreated themselves. They are a new, they have a new mission. They have a new zeal, a new energy, a new, they feel supported. They feel that they now have the support that they've always wanted to have, but they didn't have. And they've been given, in some regards, this carte blanche from the administration, like, we support you, we believe in you. The DOJ has the support. Not only that, they've emboldened and tightened up the ranks of the ATF, the FBI, the CIA. I'm not saying they purged all of the bad eggs, but they've purged a lot of the bad eggs. And the ones that they haven't purged, they have special, you know, kind of watchers. They're watching them. So everything has gotten tightened up. And whereas I can't guarantee something won't happen, I can tell you that every day, just about, they're telling me these forces, the ATF, the FBI, they're taking out groups of people. We never even hear about it. Honestly, we hear about this a year later when it goes to court. That's when we hear about it. But they're out there really actively hammering on these groups. Okay, so there is more protection, I think, for these people than ever before. Perhaps not enough, but there's more protection than ever before. So yeah, they're capable, and they're and they're getting better. There's also a sense of they're continually tightening. They're not just tightened it, but they're getting it even better. They're really working on being able to suss these threats out and neutralize them. Exactly what they said. All right, Tony Harmon, Tony, I don't know what your name is. I'm sorry. Let's see. Do you foresee a time when the elected officials swear an oath on a copy of the Constitution versus the Bible? So what I see is both. I wish I could say that the Bible's not involved, just because I think we founded this country on religious freedom. The basic premise of this country was religious freedom and representation through, taxation. So, but I don't see it. I see us adding the Constitution to, like maybe you're going to hold the Constitution in one hand and the Bible in the other. But that the guides are saying that's really show. I mean, is that really? These people put their hand on the Bible and then turn around and lie. You know what I mean? It doesn't really do anything, but it would send a message, I guess, to the American people that the Constitution is important. And, here you have, the guides just showed me this whole scenario about how, the Republicans are all about the Constitution, 2A, 1A, whatever, but they're against the Constitution when it doesn't work for them. So I can hear them complaining about it and us saying, what are you talking about? You're complaining about the Constitution? But this is what they do. They always talk out of both sides of their mouth, and you can never pin them down or hold them accountable. But yeah, I see both the Bible and the Constitution. Marilyn Monroe apparently rose from the dead and got on a computer and typed in this question. So thank you, Marilyn. Will Trump lose his properties, especially Trump Tower in New York? Will his sons be evicted from their homes? Who knew Marilyn Monroe was so vicious? Wow. Evict them. She wants them out on the street. Okay. I'm right there with you. Okay. I think you and I might be serving detention together. Okay. The question is, yes, I do see him losing his property. So here's the thing that's just it just frankly pisses me off. But the powers that be don't want to, again, we talked about this at the very beginning of the video. They don't want to raise the ire of these crazy MAGAs, and so whereas there is a lane, there is a pathway for Tish James and the judge to take away all his stuff. There is really legal remedy or precedent to do this. It is something they could try for. I don't see them doing it because they don't want mayhem. Again, we're all being held hostage by this guy and these MAGAs, and they're not that many people, but we're allowing them to hold us hostage. So what I see is some of these properties being liquidated is the words that I hear. So he like Rudy Giuliani is selling his New York flat for like $6 million or something because he's out of money. He just doesn't have the money. So you're going to see the Trump org start selling properties. Now, what's interesting is when I said that, I saw a country just popped into my mind. Imagine that, a foreign country for some reason just popped right into my mind. And that foreign country starts with an A, an S, and an A. And so the guides were telling me, well, what about his lifeline, his money? And now they're talking about FARA, which is when you have to register as a foreign agent, which I don't know if any of this makes any sense legally, but, oh, right. Okay. Right. So I think I've talked about this before, but in the beginning of the video, I talked about how the countries that are supporting him to be a disruptor and to really harm and divide us here in America have many different motives, and they can go about this many different ways. So if Trump were to get indicted or convicted or lose all his properties, that also works. That works for them, right? Because now he's a victim and he can get out there and complain. And I'm a victim and the government is coming after me. That's his stick, right? That's what he does. So if Saudi Arabia does not open their wallets, or whatever country doesn't open their wallets, and they let him take a fall, it meets their goal. Do you see why this is complicated? There's all kind of ways that if their main goal is to divide our country, then there's lots of ways you can get there. So if what I saw was Trump not having any money, and then I asked, why doesn't he have any money? He's got supporters. Well, then that's when they said these supporters might pull back their money because that's actually going to cause more trouble. So he could lose a lot of this. I've always seen all of this going down. Like, he loses all the properties. He's gone. He's crossed over. I've seen the two boys going to a Eastern Bloc country, one of the stands, Turkmenistan, some stand country. I've always seen them going there. And I've always seen, now Jared, I feel like, might go to prison. And I think Ivanka could also do some time because they're showing me her in an orange jumpsuit. So, yeah, he could lose everything, but I don't think it's going to happen this year. I don't think it's going to happen because of the Tish James lawsuit. I think it's going to be an amalgamation of all of these crimes, all of these criminal lawsuits, all of these civil lawsuits. And then perhaps him crossing over, that's when it all finally gets wiped off the books, meaning sold. And the properties, some of these properties are going to be torn down because they're going to be considered to have bad energy. Nobody's going to want to be in that tower. Nobody's going to want to be in Mar-a-Lago. They're going to tear it down. They're going to literally, I swear, this is what I see. Maybe we're all going more metaphysical, but I literally see, like in Mar-a-Lago, them tearing it down, bulldozing it, and then having some kind of energy consecration under the full moon to bless the land. I mean, literally, like, I think everybody understands now stuff has energy, and you don't want that kind of energy on your energy, right? So that's really interesting, actually. I could just see it under the full moon. These rich guys all standing around the edge while they hire a bunch of us to go over there. And, some of you strong souls will be like, I'll do it. I'll take one for the team. Let me add it. Y'all will go down there and deal with that energy. I know you will. Me, not so much. No, I'm a chicken. I'm not going down there. Heck. Now, what am I saying? I've dealt with worse. But anyway, I don't need any more. I'm hanging up my hat in that realm. Okay, let's move on. This video has literally gone off the tracks, down the hill, and we are now headed for, a big cold plunge in a lake. All right, let's see what's going on here. Okay, Marcy wants to know, Newsom's, this is California Governor Newsom's bill to up minimum wage for fast food workers in California to $20 per hour was passed. Woo-hoo! How will this affect the wages for other other occupations or similar pay? Will other states follow? These questions, this is why I have to do deep dives. It's not, I could say, yes, the answer is yes, and move right on to the next question. But what I just saw was, so let's just say in my community, because that's what I'm familiar with. So that our fast food restaurants are sort of closing up. They can't find workers. They don't want to pay the fee. They don't want to pay. So even though in Texas, our minimum wage is whatever it is, $7.50 an hour, whatever it is, something abysmal, they're paying $15 and $16 and $18. They have to. You have to pay a certain amount to even get a worker these days. So that's why these people are complaining that nobody wants to work. The truth of the matter is they just want to work for a livable wage. If you're not going to pay me a livable wage, then why am I going to work? I can't pay my rent anyway, right? So yes, it is. The energy suggests that this is kind of fixing itself in a sense. However, $20 an hour in California is probably still not enough. California is a very expensive place to live. But I do think that this is, the energy suggests that this is gaining steam. You might be asking in a way if our national minimum wage is going to increase. And I'm going to say yes, but they just showed me, I don't know how to explain this. They just showed me this picture of Hispanic or non-American workers. Okay, now these people that I'm seeing have some sort of green card to work here or a visa that the corporation has provided. This happens a lot in the construction industry. They bring over hundreds of people, and it happens in the meatpacking industry. It happens a lot. These corporations use these visas, these temporary work cards to bring these people over. And because our minimum wage is so low, sometimes they can get away with just paying them the minimum. So that's where you're going to have a pushback. Yeah, Americans aren't working for that wage. But if we can bring in somebody from another country that, let's say $9 an hour is a lot of money, then I don't want to have to pay them 20. Do you understand? So that's where I feel the pushback is coming from, is this weird undercover sector. There's meatpacking plants in the middle of nowhere, America, that are bringing in people from Africa, all over the world. They're bringing in people, anybody who will work in these terrible conditions for this little bit of money. That's where we need to point our laws. That's where we need to say, okay, well, if you're going to do it, you're going to have to pay them $20 an hour. And then maybe they'll hire an American, or maybe they'll make the process more safe where Americans want to do the job. I don't know, but this is where the pushback is going to come from. These corporations that are hiring these people temporarily and not having to pay them that expanded minimum wage, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense to me. If people will not work for less than $20 an hour, then why don't we just go ahead and do it? There's always a reason. There's always a reason these Republicans don't want to do it. If everybody already is requiring that money, then why are you against it? There's a pocket of profit. There's a pocket of people there working for that minimum wage, and that is a profit center. That's what they're protecting. You always follow the money when it comes to Republicans. Okay. So, but I do know that the Democrats are going to hammer, it's going to be $15 an hour very soon. Maybe $18 an hour very soon, within the next 3 years. Within the next 3 years, the Democrats will have control, and they'll be like, we don't care. I'm now seeing the world's smallest violin playing for you as you cry in the corner. Cope harder. We don't care. Okay. So the Democrats are just going to have to do the work, and they're going to have to just not care. All right, let's move on. Jennifer Walsh says, did Christie have any knowledge or was actually involved with the road closures or other shenanigans in New Jersey when he was governor? Christie's in the news right now because he's becoming a Trump killer, right? Which I'm enjoying. I don't like the guy. I don't like his politics, but I sure do enjoy his quick-witted retorts about Trump. So let's see. Was he actually involved? Allegedly, for my own protection, the word is yes. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Okay, I'm going to move on. El Blaso says, what is happening with Elise Stefanik from New York? Will she be reelected in the next cycle? No. What is happening with her? Well, she's a golden parachute. I just saw a golden parachute allegedly paid off, and she's preparing her departure from her seat, and she's having a debut, because the word was departure and debut. So departure from her seat, debut. I believe she might get a job in some sort of financial think tank, or there's something in the financial district. There's something to do with that. What she's done in her time there is she's made contacts, a lobbyist, basically. I think she's going to become a lobbyist, but maybe not a direct lobbyist, but a person who's not directly labeled a lobbyist, but does that work. Okay. So I don't think she's going to be reelected, but she is packing her golden parachute right now. Okay, Darren says, once Putin is gone, how long will it take for Russia to become a democracy? If that word exists there someday. So, Darren, I've done 3 videos at the beginning of Russia's attack on Ukraine. It explains everything that has happened up till now, everything the guide said, literally down to the Donbass region being the last region and Crimea being the last region that they would be fighting over. They talked about how the West would try to pressure Zelensky to just letting Russia have Crimea, to have the Donetsk and Donbass regions. They said Zelensky would crawl over broken glass before he would do that. They also said that Joe Biden was 100% with Zelensky. Here we are, exactly where they said we would be. The timing was way off. I did not get the timing right, but we are here. Now, I do see part of that channeling was that I saw Putin being removed, deposed, cooed, whatever you want to say. And that can happen in many ways. He could cross over. He could be in a prison. There's lots of ways that could happen. I saw an entity, a person taken over that was connected to the military. Now, what they showed me was, and this is the part that I'm having a hard time. It's not, the timeline is not coming together, but I saw complete and total civil unrest in Russia to the point that there needed to be martial law. Now, when I say Russia, I'm not talking about Russia because Russia is a huge country and most of it is very rural. I'm talking about the cities, right? St. Petersburg, Moscow, Rostov-on-Don. I'm talking about the cities, the areas that are mostly populated, that have more of the wealthy people, the Muscovites. Okay. That's where I see the civil unrest. Now, that precipitates Putin exiting and the new person coming in. The new person comes in, has either a connection to the army or is a general or thinks in a militaristic way. So he's a militaristic energy. He puts the lockdown on the uprising with martial law. Russia gets locked down, like North Korea locked down, literally not locked down. And they need to do that to get a handle, to get everything, controlled. Okay. The uprisings are because of the failed war, lack of food, lack of energy, these people losing their creature comforts because they are used to having creature comforts. When you go out into the hinterlands of Russia, they don't have creature comforts, and that wouldn't be a thing. So now I see this scenario happening for a year to 3 years. This person is kind of locking Russia down, just trying to get control of the situation. Okay. Then I see Russia turning into like a democratic socialist country. So, and I see it being more open, a little bit more capitalistic. I mean, just more open. Now, there's always got to be a reason. There's no reason for that to happen on its own. The reason is the oligarchs, the few that are still alive, they're going to want to make money. Russia could make a lot of money. It's a big country with a lot of resources, and that means profits. And if they bring in corporations and profit share, everybody's going to make a lot of money, right? So that's what I see. That's what I see. The timing is, in the next 3 years, let's say by 2029. How many years is that? Okay. By 2028, 29 is when I see Russia making that big turn. It's a slow turn, but that big turn towards open elections. Now, look, we don't even have open elections. You know what I mean? Come on. But more open elections than they have now. You know what I mean? Cover up cover up the deeds a little bit better like they do here in the States. Okay, one more question, and then I'm out of here. And I will do a part 2, maybe a part 3. You never know what's going to happen. Last question is something I've talked about a lot in the past, is what is really in Ivana's coffin? Georgia Peach wants to know what is really in Ivana's coffin. Now, come on, you guys. I know some of you think this is a silly question, but I'm telling you, something is in that coffin that shouldn't be in the coffin, or wouldn't normally be found in the coffin. And weirdly enough, what I'm seeing now, because I've not seen this before, is I'm seeing like if you took a metal detector, so that's a good way to kind of do this work, right? Like you're trying to figure out what's in something. You could imagine in your mind's eye or in your mind that you're using a metal detector. And if you imagine using this metal or gold detector, this detector that could detect anything, maybe if we're going to go magic, we might as well go big, right? I'm going to use a detector. I'm going to use an x-ray machine. I'm going to remote view. I'm just going to know without knowing how I know what is in that coffin. I'm going to x-ray it. Okay. Now, when I use a metal detector, I feel like something is in there that doesn't match the metals of the coffin. That's why I think they said there are metal detectors that only detect gold, or you can change the sensitivity of it to only detect certain types of metals more than others. So we changed the sensitivity on our metal detector, and I feel like there's something weird in there, like some weird mineral that's tucked in. Like if you have a trim on the inside of the coffin, like when you have 2 seams that meet, you put a piece of trim over it to cover up the seams. So behind this trim, there's some weird mineral in there, and they're giving me chills on this. I mean, that could also be, shut up, Susan. Once again, she's gone too far. Red alert, shut her up. Yeah, there's a weird mineral in there. You have to remember that 45 had access as president. He had access to things that nobody else gets access to. Okay. So perhaps maybe there's some weird mineral in there that could be incredibly damning to the United States government for him to pull out and say, they're holding this and you don't know it, and I'm going to be a whistleblower. Nobody can arrest me. Right. It's all about embarrassing us, dividing us, right? Again. So there's something in there. There's a mineral that he has in there that's either worth so much money that it would be his get out of jail free card, meaning that even if they took all his assets, he would have the ability to cash in this metal for some really big money. Is it a metal that we already know? It could be slightly radioactive. I mean, some things are. I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it could be slightly radioactive. It could be like uranium. It could be something like that. I don't know why. He just thinks it's worth a lot of money, or there's something, a get out of jail free card. Like if I pull this out, if I pull this card out, you're going to pay. You know what I mean? This is my get out of jail free card. How many times have I talked about get out of jail free cards on these videos? It's a thing with the Republicans. They always keep something on somebody. They always try to have dirt on somebody, or dirt on America, or dirt on something, because that's how they keep people in check. That's how they operate. That's really how they operate. So yeah, I think there is something in there. There's no reason for there to be a coffin. If she was cremated, there's no reason for that coffin to be so heavy. I think they had 12 pallbearers. There's no reason for him to bury her on private property at his golf course so that nobody can tamper with it. Nobody can, pillage it, figure out what's in it. Nothing makes sense. None of that makes sense. He loves his golf course more than he loves anybody. He's not going to put his ex-wife in something he loves. He would just let her daughter bury her someplace. He wouldn't care. Y'all, it doesn't make sense. That's why it stands out. Then also energetically, it stands out because it doesn't make sense energetically either. There's something in there. And I really think that it has to be of value. Again, Trump does everything for something of value. There could be gold bars in there. There could be something in there that's really of value, sort of like your grab bag, your grab and go bag, right? Like when he has to leave the country, well, here's where you get that money. And again, they told me a long time ago that allegedly, for entertainment purposes only, this family, and I don't know, I guess mob families, I don't know, they bury things. One of the things that they do is they bury something that's important. That's how they store it. You're not going to store it in a locker or someplace that the feds get a warrant to and can get a key to open, even a safe. You're not going to do that. You're going to bury it somewhere in some field in the back 40 of your golf course where you've got the GPS coordinates, and that's all. It's a safe place to put things. Now, what they also showed me, and I think I've talked about this before because I'm pretty sure the guides are telling me that the commenters, the viewers wrote in and said, yes, this is true. So the other thing they like is they like to bury things next to a place where they can land a small plane or a helicopter, so a field. They also like to bury things next to or within distance of a major highway. They also like to bury things next to a river or a navigable waterway, even if it's a very small marsh that you can only navigate, with a, flats boat, with some kind of low, depth boat. Why is that? Because if you need to get that stuff out because you're fleeing or you're making a deal, you need to have access to transportation, right? Whether it's a boat, a plane, a helicopter, or a car, you need to have access to transportation, and it needs to be fast transportation. Now, sometimes I want you guys to understand, there's messages and information in what the guides don't say. So what did they say? You need to have access to fast transportation. What did they not say? What they didn't say was this isn't going to be 5 miles down a dirt road or a Jeep road in the back of some, in the middle of nowhere. What they said was fast transportation. So you have to understand the opposite. The opposite means this isn't in the middle of nowhere. This is going to be in a public place. Or if it's in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be accessible, fast transportation, a helicopter, a boat, a plane. Okay. So yeah, I think that this golf course is near a highway. I think it's near a navigable waterway. I think it has all the above. Because if you don't want someone to follow you, you're going to take a boat to a helicopter. You're going to take a helicopter to a boat to a car. You're going to use as many forms of transportation as you can. Because if somebody's following you in a car, they're not going to follow the boat. They're not going to follow the helicopter. They're going to need 3 forms of transportation too. And the feds don't got that kind of budget. So that's why they always want to have 3 forms of transportation around these things that they plant. And I believe that also means this coffin. All right. With that, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching part 1 of the multi-part videos from the spirit guides answering your political questions. There are some really good questions that are still in the balance to be answered. We're going to be talking about Chechnya. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk. I am going to talk about Paxton. You guys don't ask the question in the comments. You ask the question in the comments, but you don't ask the question in the post. And therefore, I forget. Texas Attorney General Paxton. I'll write the question myself right now. I'm also going to be talking about Rand Paul and foreign entities. I'm going to be talking about Katie Hobbs. This is big news, apparently. Katie Hobbs and Carrie Lake in Arizona. That's big news. I'm going to be talking about Mike Pompeo. So this is what's coming in part number 2. If you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss this video. Hit the bell notification, click all if you want to know when I have a video that comes out. Take really, 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 really good care of yourself. This is a roller coaster. It's not a straight line. It is a roller coaster from hell that we are on, and it's going to continue for a long while. And we need to balance ourselves, balance our energy, balance our intake of this gross, yucky energy. Okay. Do good things in your life. do good things for you, restore your energy, take really good care of yourself. We'll talk soon. Susan Lynn, Psychic Medium, signing out. For entertainment purposes only.